Hey Kings, what's poppin'? It's me, Teams of Regret. Recently, reputable EA DICE insider Tom Henderson published an article where he talks about EA's response to the disastrous launch of Battlefield 2042. This was based on an internal meeting between higher-ups on EA and DICE, and the conclusions they come to are honestly really stupid. Like, disconnected from reality stupid. Genuinely mind-boggling levels of smooth brain kind of stupid. A lot of it is just shifting the blame from themselves to other people. It's honestly really pathetic. EA's chief studio officer, one Laura Miele? Yeah, however the heck you say her name. She said that 2042's launch failed to meet the expectations of our players and also clearly missed our own expectations. Honestly, that is putting it very mildly. I've already made a video explaining why 2042 is a big mess, but here's a quick summary for those who don't want to or, didn't bother to watch it. The game launched as an absolute mess and continues to be an absolute mess. Core gameplay design was haphazardly changed to chase trends, all the way to the point where the gameplay loop doesn't even work anymore. Jack-of-all-trades specialists simply don't work in a team-based army versus army shooter. Then there's the additional design choices that they had that just don't gel with Battlefield's combined arms gameplay. Maps are too big, there's too much empty space between engagements, vehicles are overpowered, and then there's the removal of features that players liked from previous games, while doubling down on features players didn't even want. It doesn't even stop there. There is a severe lack of meaningful content available. You thought Halo Infinite is lacking in content? 2042 isn't even getting a content drop at least until early summer. You're stuck playing the same shit on the same maps endlessly until early summer. Think of that for a moment. Then to top it all off, the game's performance was somehow even worse after launch than the open beta. They could have fixed it by now? It should be fixed by now, but I'd rather burn money than waste it on 2042 to check. With all of that in mind, you all might be pretty curious to know what EA and DICE actually thought about launch. After all, everybody wants a glimpse of what was going on in the heads of the people who made disastrous decisions. According to the execs, after the Day 0 and Day 1 patches, the game was stable and early critical reception was good. I'd like to know what sources they're getting these conclusions from, because this is some genuinely grade A copium. I seriously fail to see how the game could be considered stable if it was out there crashing people's rigs. If 2042 is what EA DICE considers to be stable, then I don't want to know what they consider to be unstable. Now, my rig isn't exactly the best, but it could handle the beta build pretty alright. But when it came to the free weekend they had a month after launch, my computer could hardly handle it and even crashed after the second match. This was probably the only time I ever had a game perform worse on launch than on the beta. Halo Infinite performed better at launch than in the beta. And speaking of Halo, EA DICE said that Halo Infinite's surprise release made Battlefield 2042 look bad in comparison. The exec said that Halo Infinite was way more polished than 2042, and because of that people were mad at 2042, even though Infinite's launch is probably the roughest among all the Halo games with its lack of playlists and maps and optimization issues on PC. The crazy part about this is that I kind of sort of agree with the execs on this one. Let's look back at how 343 handled Halo Infinite versus how DICE has been handling 2042. When players thought Infinite looked subpar, 343 and Microsoft delayed it by a whole year. When things were looking messy for 2042, EA DICE delayed it by 1 month. 1 whole ass month. What the fuck can you fix in 1 month? 343 lowered store prices after feedback, added new playlists. Meanwhile, DICE is calling their player base unreasonable and brutal for wanting scoreboards and in-game voice chat. What a joke. 343 isn't perfect by any measurement, but they're still leagues above whatever the heck DICE is doing. 343 took a lot of flack for the core changes they made to Halo, and they took it all in for consideration when they're making the next game. Halo 4's loadouts and perks were scrapped for Halo 5. Halo 5's armor abilities and ADS were scrapped for Infinite. You get the picture. Also, player expectations are another thing EA DICE is blaming for the failure of their game. I mean, God forbid players expect a fully functioning Battlefield game when they're buying a Battlefield title, right? God forbid fans get value for what they're paying for. God forbid fans want DICE to iterate and improve upon what they had from previous games instead of throwing the baby out with the bathwater and starting out from scratch. Then the execs added, player expectations have changed when it comes to live service games, and that it wasn't right to remain anchored to the company's standards. What standards, might you ask? The standard of launching buggy and broken messes and patching it up as they go. I'm not kidding, the execs acknowledged that previous Battlefield games all had rough launches and it would take a while for DICE to patch it up to a proper state. The execs said that DICE historically is very good at adapting games in live service, connecting with players, connecting with the community, and getting the game to the place that players expect. But there's a problem with that statement. The DICE of today isn't the same DICE that made Battlefields 3 through 5. Many, if not most, of DICE veteran staffers have either left for other Swedish game studios like Machine Games and Paradox Interactive, or started up their own company like Embark Studio. The DICE of today is a far different beast, and it shows. There is absolutely zero guarantee that new DICE can salvage 2042 from the mess they put it in. And then this leads to them blaming the Bat Plague for messing up their workflow. In combination with DICE finally upgrading their Frostbite engine, this was honestly a guaranteed mess. Now, Tom Henderson already discussed this in greater detail in his own articles and videos, but the gist of it is that devs working from home didn't have the equipment to deal with both developing the game and upgrade the engine at the same time. Now, this strikes me as more of a management issue than anything else. If they knew that the pandemic was going to fuck with the company's workflow, why didn't they adjust accordingly? Delay the game by a whole year. Give the devs the time and resources necessary to work from home. Reorganize the company to better accommodate remote working. Set up the necessary infrastructure, the whole goddamn works. Frankly, this just tells us that EA and DICE have no clue what the fuck they're even doing with the Battlefield series anymore. First, them and DICE piss off their own fans by calling them stupid. Then they chase trends with a tacked-on Battle Royale mode, and then they add specialists. Now they're talking about a new Battlefield game, one with heavier hero shooter elements. And all of that while 2042 is still drowning in its own piss. It's honestly baffling how much further EA can fuck up the series. They had all this amazing talent making some of the best franchises, and EA somehow managed to fuck it all up somehow. From Command and Conquer to Mass Effect, they always find a way to fuck it up somehow. It would be impressive if it weren't for the fact that EA holds the rights to some of my favorite franchises. What I honestly think is the final nail in the coffin is this statement from the execs where they say that players are telling them, "This feels like Battlefield, that Battlefield is back, this is my Battlefield." Who the fuck is saying this? Seriously, I can honestly not believe anyone who played the game would seriously think, yeah, this is just like Battlefield 3 and 4, this is peak Battlefield. I can understand if these comments were made after the reveal trailer premiered. I'd still call whoever was making these comments stupid, but at least at that point there was a sliver of hope that 2042 was going to be a return to form for the Battlefield franchise. Now it's just a mess. A sign of how low Battlefield and DICE have fallen over the years. It's a sign that EA is absolutely out of touch with reality if this is what they believe players are thinking. It's also horribly self-contradictory how they say that the players love the game, that Battlefield is back, but at the same time that players are disappointed with how the game launched. It doesn't compute at all. I've seen less self-deception in a Star Citizen forum, it's ridiculous. Oh jeez Louise, I'm just about done with this video. Remember to like, comment, subscribe, and share the video if you feel like it. This is Teams of Regret, wishing you all good luck and Godspeed. Signing out.